said, is Ronaldo right to criticize Ten Hag and the Glazers? 35% of the audience so far have said yes to both. 62% have said just the Glazers, and 3% have said just Ten Hag. Can you understand what do you think his logic is behind going after Ten Hag?
Because he's butthurt that he didn't get in the team and that they're winning without him. I don't think he's won a game when he started this season. I don't think Man United won a game he started. I may be wrong. If they have, it's only one. Yeah, and this is the thing. Ten Hag's come in. Yeah, this is very similar to the Ozil situation, by the way, when Emery had that issue with Mesut Ozil, and then Mesut Ozil was going on social media and putting up polls. Are we going to win tonight, guys? And Ozil turned into the biggest football Twitter account out there. Yeah, they can't accept that their decline is it's over. They've had their peak. They're finished. And like, let's take Ozil out the equation, but it's very similar, Terry. Yeah, because they're both very influential online. They've both got mass followings, mass cult followings. Yeah, their fans will go from whatever club they're at to the next club when they go. Yeah, because they follow the player, not the actual football club.
Yeah.
And when they speak, most people will just believe them because of the mass following that they have. Yeah, you know, like, and I see when he's calling out Ten Hag, I think, like, mate, number one, yeah, he sat there and said, I'll give respect if people give respect to me. No, mate, he is your boss. Yeah, he is your boss. You are paid to do a job at Man United. If that job is to sit on the bench for 90 minutes, so be it. You are paid £500,000 a week. He is your boss. It's a squad game. You're not the man you were 10 years ago, mate. Yeah, and if Ten Hag, like, when he's sitting there, I thought it was so rude when he said, well, when people are sitting there going, nobody will remember Ten Hag and blah, 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 and everyone will remember. What's that got to do with anything? At the end of the day, Ten Hag is the manager of Manchester United Football Club, right? He has a job to do. And if he doesn't do that job to the best level, or to the level that the Glazers want or the hierarchy want, he will get sacked. So what, just because you're Ronaldo, I have to go against everything that I want to do just to suit you, mate? You're not going to be part of that in 2 years' time. You might not even be part of that ever again.
And bro, that's what's being missed in all of this, and it's not being discussed in all of it when it comes to the Ten Hag element. And the Ten Hag element is the only area where I'm so far, and I haven't heard the full context, and I could change my mind, that I'm not with Ronaldo on. I think when I say not with him, I want to see I want more detail on the stuff to do with his daughter being sick and why the club didn't believe him. I want to actually, again, I think in the clips that we've seen, I would expect more questioning from Piers Morgan around.
Sorry to cut you off there, right?
Go on.
Wasn't he out clubbing during pre-season? When he spotted in a nightclub during pre-season?
I don't personally remember, no.
Yeah, I'm sure he was in a nightclub, yeah, during pre-season. So when he's sitting there saying about what happened with his baby, and listen, that's tragic, mate, yeah? And then 3 months later, the other one's ill, his other kid's ill, yeah? But, mate, no disrespect, you were out clubbing. I swear I've seen pictures of him in a nightclub. It was all over like, he's missed pre-season, he's out clubbing. I'm sure it was him, yeah? And, Terry, we've only got his word on that. Yeah, that's literally. They didn't believe me. What made you think they didn't believe you?
I get that, and that's the questions that Piers Morgan should be asking. But where Piers has done a bad job in this interview is that he has not challenged the claims for balance. He has just accepted everything that has been posed to him. We saw that very much with Harry and Meghan Markle when they were with Oprah. For me, I'm not an overt royalist. I wasn't angry they did it. I just sat there and I looked at it from the point of view of Oprah, and I thought, why wouldn't you challenge what they've said? Because for me, when I grew up, there was a guy that was renowned for his interviewing technique of doing that, Martin Bashir. Martin Bashir would listen to you, but he would challenge elements. He wouldn't just. What this feels to me is ideologically driven. So it's I want the message to be what you're putting out. And you're saying what I want to hear. Therefore, there's going to be no challenge. I'm not going to dig a little bit deeper. And just on Ten Hag, look at the middle comment in here. Someone sent me these screenshots the other day. So this was Ten Hag in the summer. This was on the 11th of July, where he said, so he's not with us. That's due to personal issues. We are planning with Ronaldo for the season. That's it. I'm looking forward to working with him. This was a constant theme over the course of the whole summer from Ten Hag, to be respectful, to be polite. There were murmurs that he would prefer Ronaldo to go and a new striker to come in. But that's purely for longevity. That's purely because Ronaldo just isn't the player that he was. And he may have scored 24 goals last year, but we were largely worse with him outside of the team than in it. Brilliant in the games against Tottenham, both home and away. even though we lost the game, brilliant away against Arsenal in the latter stage of the season. But as a general rule, we've been a better team without him. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I just think that from my perspective, it's just the majority of this interview is very, very disappointing. The only elements that I think are good is the Glazer part, and of course I want to know if my execs have disrespected your daughter being ill. But I want more detail. If all we get is what we already know, and that's I don't feel like they believe me, and Morgan just says I think that's disgraceful. My challenge is well, where's the further questions? What did they do? What was their actions? What did they make you think? What is it they said or
They say
did
to make them
made
think.
you believe that? That's what we need to know as fans. And so far, we haven't seen a lot of that, because the other side of it, which is kind of being ignored now, which Pierce should have asked him, and hopefully he does tonight. And that's, well, there were lots of reports that your agent was out all summer looking for a new club. So maybe
Yeah.
the club felt that your reason for not being there for the whole preseason wasn't solely to do with your daughter. And if I'm being honest, that's where my mind's at right now. Maybe in the beginning it was my daughter's got bronchitis. I'm going to stay with her until she gets the all clear. But the all clear, in my opinion, maybe it didn't. So maybe I'm wrong. But this is what I would challenge. If I was interviewing him, it would be, well, how long did the bronchitis last? How long until the all clear was given? There were rumors, Ronaldo, that your agent was looking for a new club all summer. Was that going on at the same time? Could that be, Cristiano, the reason why the board were challenging some of your points or some of your reasonings for not being there? That for me is what a journalist should do here. But what they've done is to complete and utter stitch up to make
They're
Man
just
United
blowing
look
smoke
bad
up his
at
backside.
every
That's what
single
they've done,
area.
Terry. They're
Sorry?
just blowing smoke up. Piers Morgan's just blowing smoke, and it's worked for both of them. Because he's got everyone talking about Ronaldo. Yeah, so Ronaldo's happy because everyone's talking about him now. Yeah, and he knows his adoring fans will back anything he does anyway. Now it's a problem for Ten Hag. Yeah, and then you've got the other side of that. Piers Morgan that hasn't got a job on ITV anymore, sets up this Talk TV or whatever it's called, and now that's boom, the most explosive interview in living history, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not the most explosive interview. It's just him sitting there telling you this, this, and this in the hope that everyone goes, oh, yes, Ronaldo. Oh, poor Ronaldo. Poor Ronaldo. Poor Ronaldo. Mate, that guy is a joke. Yeah, he's an absolute disgrace. Yeah, and the thing is, people are sitting there and I know Man United's training ground's falling apart. I know Man United's stadium's falling apart. I know the leaky roof and there's rats on the pitch. Yeah, I've known all of that. He sat there and said, the facilities were still the same as when I was 21. Well, didn't you phone Fergie and ask before you signed again? Didn't you phone Ollie up before he signed you back? Didn't you speak to Bruno and say, Bruno, what's the training ground like these days? Don't come out saying all of that. Yeah, and making that as an excuse. Oh, Man United are stuck in the mud. We know they're crap. We know they've been crap for a decade or more. We know that the facilities are ancient. Now that's being used as an excuse to back his argument to they've disrespected me. That, mate, you're a footballer getting paid £500,000 a week to kick a ball around, right? Yes, you've got the most amount of goals in living history, unless you want to get all Pele's goals from the war and all of that out. From the army days. Yeah, you've scored 700 plus goals. Nobody can take that away from you. There's a way to go out, and he's not doing it gracefully. He now wants to come out swinging for everyone. Yeah, because he knows that it's the end. He can't accept this is the end, right? And regardless of how many goals he scored last season, Terry, yeah, right. The funny thing is, he weren't sitting there calling it out last season. He weren't calling out the Glazers. Yeah, like he has a direct link to Fergie. We know that they talk. He's got a direct link to Bruno Fernandes. We know that they played for the national team together. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'm sure he still speaks to him. He signed him. So he could have quite easily asked all of these questions about the facilities, could have asked all these questions about what are the Glazers like these days. You know, what are they going to do on and off the pitch? Like, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? These are questions footballers would normally ask, right, when they're signing for a football club. Oh, what's the plans for the summer window? What's the plans for the January window? Am I going to be playing every week? What is this? Who's going to be in the squad with me? These are genuine questions that footballers will ask, you know, when they go and sign a contract at a football club. So why has it taken for him to get binned out of the football team, and sitting on the bench every week, for him to come out and highlight all this? Because he weren't doing it when he was scoring last season. He weren't doing it when he was playing last season. And we see some little bits last season. I think it was Southampton where he got subbed off against Southampton and threw the water bottle down. Yeah, and then the cameras panned in on him, and him and Ten Hag were having words. You know, that was last season because he got subbed off. Because again, it's all about him. He wants to play every minute of every football match. Yeah, that's cool. I get that. I get that you want to keep scoring goals. But if you're a hindrance to the football team, The manager ain't going to keep you on the pitch, mate.
I agree. So some of the super chats and comments here. This is a real interesting comment from Lynn. I wanted to focus on where she says, "Terry, what happens if Ronaldo is right and Ten Hag in a few months' time starts throwing some of the Man United players under the bus?" Well, this is the thing. We have to wait and see exactly what he said. But let's just say that Ronaldo, Pierce, and all these guys are right, and Ten Hag isn't the correct guy for the job. You still don't allow. I've been talking about this since the Jose days, and I wanted Jose gone. And that was, you have to defend the position of manager. The manager always has to be allowed to be in control, and the club has to ensure that position is seen as powerful above all else. Because whilst player power continues, the problem that you have, with it continuing is this: at some point, player power will oust the right manager, because the right manager is trying to make the players work harder. The right manager notices there's a problem in the dressing room, whether that problem's attitude, whether that problem is uh, ability, whether that problem is just old age taking someone away. Look at the situation with Garnacho. A lot of people have been angry that Bruno and Ten Hag have spoken about the fact that that the player was had a bit of a bad attitude in pre-season, start of the season. That's why he wasn't playing. But the player doesn't have an issue with that, because he's gone away, taken the feedback, worked hard, come back, and has got four or five starts in the last few games, and is killing it. For me, it's really, really important for us to ensure that the standards at the club are right, irrespective of whether a manager goes on to have a bigger and greater career than Cristiano Ronaldo. It's the precedent that's got to be set. Because based on that logic, it means if you hire a manager where there's, say, 3 players in the squad, so say Pep Guardiola leaves and a new manager comes in, and you've got 3 or 4 players in that Man City squad who have achieved more on their CV than the new manager, that logic dictates they don't have to listen to that new manager. If we start setting that as a precedent across football, big clubs are going to fail regularly, because it isn't very often that a new manager comes in who's got more success than some of the most successful players at big clubs. That means Real Madrid pretty much, how can they find any manager to ever manage this current crop of Real Madrid players? Because these current Real Madrid players, a lot of them have got 4 or 5 Champions Leagues. Does that mean that no manager in the world can tell them what to do? It doesn't make sense when you boil it down to actuality for me.
Can I highlight a comment? There's a comment in here that says, I'm genuinely interested to see if this was at Arsenal, if Lee would have the same defense for the manager. Mate, if you go through my videos, yeah, although I liked Aubameyang, yeah, and I think that he was played out of position for most of his Arsenal career under Arteta, I did actually state when he missed the North London derby and he turned up late to it, I said Arteta's right for binning him, yeah, and not putting him in the squad that day or putting him on the bench or whatever. Yeah, then when he benched him for weeks and weeks and weeks and we weren't winning games, I was like, well, get him on the pitch. Yeah, get him on the pitch. Then it's a to and fro between manager and player. And as much as I don't want Aubameyang to go, I backed Arteta on that. I said, if he's a problem, he's the manager. He's got to go. Like, the player's got to go. I did the same with Mesut Ozil as well, by the way. You know, when Unai Emery binned him, and then he spat his dummy out, and then eventually Arteta binned him. Done exactly the same, because as much as I rate Aubameyang at Arsenal at that time, yeah, he ain't the future of Arsenal Football Club, is he? And if Mikel Arteta ain't getting sacked tomorrow, then Mikel Arteta is the future. The same with Ten Hag. And when you've got a player that's in their late 30s, mid 30s, or whatever, that player is not going to be there in a couple of years' time. The manager will be, especially at Arsenal with the process, the projects, and all that. And the same with Ten Hag. So, yeah, if you've got one player that's spitting his dummy out and trying to cause a scene every week and making it all about him, no, and this is what makes me laugh with Ronaldo. He worked under Fergie. Fergie came out once, many, many years ago, and said, as soon as a player starts thinking he's bigger than Man United, he's leaving the football club. Bro, look at the players. Roy Keane did that interview on MUTV.
Gone.
See you later.
Bro, think about it. That's it. But this is the thing. There are elements in this that I'm not going to overtly criticize or slag him off for. You know, anything involving his children, especially his son that passed away. But all that this interview has been done for is to completely and utterly engineer a move away from Man United, because he knows what the club is going to do. And equally on you, even if you didn't agree with what Arteta did, we've seen the reaping of the rewards from Arsenal for doing it. So from my standpoint, I think people can learn from that.